Hello there, you're watching Nightline with me, Norzie. These are the headlines. TNB to offer rebates from January 1st. And Khairy Jamaluddin ready to brief Public Accounts Committee on vaccine cost. Domestic and industry users will be able to enjoy electricity rebates of 2 cents per kilowatt hour from January 1st to June 30th, 2021. According to Energy and Natural Resources Minister Dato' Dr. Shamsul Anwar Nasara, with the rebate, 7.5 million domestic users will see a reduction of up to 9.2% in their electricity bills.
Rebate yang pertama kali dinikmati sejak Julai tahun 2018 ini akan dinikmati oleh semua pengguna elektrik tenaga listrik berhad, domestik dan bukan domestik. Langkah ini diambil berikutan keputusan kerajaan untuk melanjutkan tempoh regulatory kedua TNB di bawah mekanisme IBIR hingga 30 Disember 2021.
The average electricity tariff rate remains at 39.45 cents per kilowatt hour. The government hopes that this rebate will help ease the rakyat's cost of living and lower the cost of businesses that have been affected by the pandemic. Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Khairy Jamaluddin is prepared to give a briefing to the Public Accounts Committee, PAC, on the procurement of the COVID-19 vaccine, including the cost details. He, however, cautioned that committee members must be willing to keep the terms classified, as the Malaysian government had signed a non-disclosure agreement with the companies involved. According to Khairy, all respective governments in the world are subject to the non-disclosure agreement, and if the agreement's conditions are breached, the deals between Malaysia and the vaccine manufacturers could be affected.
I don't have a choice because I want to be as transparent as possible. I want to tell Malaysians that I'm very, very happy with the price that we got for Pfizer. Kalau boleh saya nak cakap sekarang, but I can't. Even based on the so-called leak about the EU price, I'm even happier about the price that we got. That's a huge hit already. I'm very close to breaching the NDA. I'm very close to breaching the NDA. But if indeed that was the price that the European Union bought Pfizer, I'm so happy.
He said the briefing was in reply to a statement by DAP stalwart Lim Kit Siang, who alleged the price of the COVID-19 vaccine paid by Malaysia was about 20 times the price obtained by the Belgian government. Speaking during a media conference on the development to procure vaccine in Putrajaya today, Khairy also stressed that the procurement of the vaccine from the pharmaceutical companies was made through direct negotiation and not through middlemen or distributors. He also denied the allegation by Pasir Salak Member of Parliament Datuk Sri Tajuddin Abdul Rahman that there were parties reaping 500 million ringgit in commission in the vaccine purchase.
Ini adalah tuduhan tanpa bukti. Tanpa bukti. Kalau nak buat tuduhan, hatta dalam perbahasan di Parlimen pun, saya tahulah di dalam Dewan Rakyat ada kekebalan daripada undang-undang, tapi mestilah dibekalkan dengan bukti, dengan evidence.
Earlier on Wednesday, AstraZeneca also issued a press statement confirming that Malaysia was buying the 6.4 million doses of the vaccine at cost. Meanwhile, Malaysia will insist that the vaccines provided by Pfizer will be effective in fighting the new, more infectious strain of the COVID-19 virus, which has been detected in the United Kingdom. He said the government has yet to speak to the vaccine manufacturer on the matter, but will raise it with Pfizer.
Sekiranya sekarang ni mereka sedang menguji ataupun mereka sedang memantau keberkesanan vaksin yang sedia ada kepada mutasi yang baru yang telah pun diumumkan di United Kingdom. Sekiranya vaksin Pfizer yang sedia ada tidak berkesan ataupun kurang berkesan terhadap mutasi baru, mereka telah menyatakan bahawa mereka memerlukan 6 minggu untuk membuat sedikit perubahan kepada vaksin tersebut untuk memastikan keberkesanan itu tinggi terhadap mutasi yang baru.
The government has allocated 2.05 billion ringgit for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines, which will cover a total of 26.5 million Malaysians. The procurement of the vaccines not only involved those from the COVAX facility, Pfizer and AstraZeneca, but also for 3 other deals. The country's Islamic authorities have ruled that the COVID-19 vaccine is harus or permitted for Malaysian Muslims and wajib or obligatory for certain groups set by the government. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs, Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli Muhammad Al-Bakri, in a statement said that this was decided during a Muzakarah Committee meeting of the National Council on Islamic Religious Affairs of Malaysia on December 3rd. In a statement on Wednesday, he also said the decision has been relayed to the Council of Rulers. As such, he urged all Malaysians, especially Muslims, to abide by and to give full trust to the government to manage the COVID-19 pandemic through the use of the vaccines. The statement came following public concerns on the use of the COVID-19 vaccines, especially among Muslims. 5 COVID-19 related deaths and 5 new clusters were reported on Wednesday. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said Selangor continued to lead with the highest number of COVID-19 cases, reporting 535 new infections out of the 1,348 new cases. Kuala Lumpur was the second highest with 226 cases, followed by Sabah at 189. The 5 deaths reported were in Selangor, Kuala Lumpur and Negeri Sembilan. 2 of the new clusters detected in the Klang Valley, the Jalan Panah construction site cluster and the Menara Wang cluster, are workplace related. The other 3 clusters detected were the Saga Tengah cluster in Sabah, Kolam Air cluster in Kedah and Hala Mutiara cluster in Perak. The Health Ministry will soon be building a disease control centre equivalent to the American Centre for Disease Control, CDC. Deputy Minister 2, Dato' Arun Ago Dagang, said the idea was first mooted in 1998 after the country lost its intellectual property rights to research on the Nipah virus to the CDC in Atlanta, United States, as Malaysia did not have the capacity then.
Projek Pusat Kawalan Penyakit Negara telah diluluskan oleh pihak unit perancangan ekonomi di bawah Rolling Plan keempat, Rancangan Malaysia ke-11 dan kos keseluruhan adalah sebanyak 500 juta. Pihak unit perancangan ekonomi juga telah meluluskan kos bagi kerja awal projek ini dalam sebanyak RM200,000. Cawangan Kerja Kesihatan Kementerian Kesihatan, Jabatan Kerja Raya Malaysia telah dilantik sebagai agensi pelaksana projek ini pada tahun 2019.
The centre will be built in Bandar Enstek, Negeri Sembilan over 4 years from the date of appointment of the contractor.
The 2021 budget. All the appropriate ingredients to boost the economy. How to ensure timely and critical steps are taken to ensure projects and programs are implemented quickly and effectively.
Join me, Zahir Kelvin Ong Abdullah, on Money Matters this Saturday, 5 p.m, only on TV3.
The 2021 budget was passed in the Dewan Negara on Wednesday with unanimous support from the senators. The Supply Bill 2021 was passed after the third reading by Deputy Finance Minister Muhammad Shahar Abdullah. Budget 2021 involved an allocation totaling 322.5 billion ringgit, the largest on record for the country. The bill went through 5 days of debate and winding up by each ministry after it was passed with a razor-thin majority in the Dewan Rakyat on December 15th. This after 2 failed attempts to thwart the federal budget through block voting by opposition lawmakers in the lower house. The Dewan Negara sitting is set to resume on Monday. In a bid to revive the tourism industry, Malaysia will be rebranded as the top-of-the-mind eco-tourism destinations of the world in a 10-year-long plan. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin announced the rebranding when he unveiled the National Tourism Policy 2020 to 2030 earlier on Wednesday. In his online speech, the Premier said Malaysia will rise again as a top tourism destination with this plan in place. It will focus on strengthening competitiveness, sustainable and inclusive development of the industry and resilience against disasters. Tan Sri Muhyiddin also outlined 6 core strategies in the plan involving governance, investment zones, digitalisation, tourist satisfaction, sustainability and human capital.
Sehubungan itu, pembangunan industri pelancongan yang berasaskan teknologi digital adalah penting untuk memastikan objektif dasar ini dapat dicapai. Tambahan pula, kemajuan teknologi juga dapat mengukuhkan jaringan antara industri serta membuka jalan bagi subsektor inovatif baru dalam industri pelancongan yang akan mewujudkan peluang perniagaan dan pekerjaan. Dengan ini, pelaburan pelancongan yang berpusatkan teknologi adalah digalakkan.
Citing the United Nations World Tourism Organization UNWTO's forecast, he said it will take between 2 and 4 years for the global tourism industry to recover, similar to the estimate by the National Economic Action Council M10. Meanwhile, Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister, in her speech during the launch of the policy, said the country will now focus on luring high-yielding tourists to add more value to the tourism sector.
Kita memilih untuk mengutamakan kualiti berbanding kuantiti, atau dalam istilah yang lebih mudah adalah kepada quality tourist atau high-yield tourist. Selain itu, kita juga berhasrat untuk menjadikan Malaysia sebagai destinasi eko pelancongan pilihan dunia berdasarkan tarikan semula jadi yang ada di Malaysia.
She said the National Tourism Policy was formulated after getting feedback and input from 40 engagement sessions involving over 1,000 people and industry stakeholders.
Ke arah memartabatkan industri pelancongan negara.
Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi has called on traders not to make any hasty decisions over the sale of frozen meat in the country. This after the Kuala Lumpur Bumiputra Traders and Hawkers Association called on its members to temporarily halt the sale of beef following an expose on the importation of non-certified meat into the country. He said the collective action by meat traders to stop selling the frozen meat in an abrupt manner could pose problems for many consumers. Among them would be causing the sale of genuine halal certified meat in the market to be halted, at the same time depriving those who want to consume the meat. On Tuesday, the Kuala Lumpur Bumiputra Traders and Hawkers Association President Datuk Sri Rosli Sulaiman said halting the sale was necessary to address the growing doubt over the halal status of frozen beef in the market. Nanta said his ministry is still investigating the meat cartel case for misusing the halal logo as well as other labels. He was speaking to the media after launching a back-to-school program in Putrajaya. Drunk policeman arrested for driving against traffic. Details when we return. A traffic policeman was arrested for driving against traffic at Jalan Lingkaran Dalam in Johor Bahru early Wednesday morning. Johor Police Chief Dato' Ayub Khan Maidin Piche said the 25-year-old suspect was believed to be drunk when he was arrested in a petrol station near the location of the incident. In a statement, Ayub Khan said police had made the arrest at 12:30 a.m. after receiving a video recording of a car driving against traffic. In the video, a Perodua Myvi could be seen driving against traffic, narrowly missing oncoming vehicles. The suspect was brought to the Sultanah Aminah Hospital in Johor Bahru for a blood test. Ayub Khan said the driver is a traffic policeman in Johor Bahru Selatan and that police will be taking stern action against any cops found breaking the law. A labourer was killed when the motorcycle he was riding collided with a car near Kampung Sentosa in Kuala Nerus, Terengganu on Wednesday. 32-year-old Muhammad Shamsul Bani Ghani died on the spot from severe head and body injuries in the noon incident at Jalan Kuala Terengganu, Kota Baru. It was believed that the victim had lost control of his motorcycle and skidded onto the opposite lane before colliding into a Proton Wira. The car was driven by a 37-year-old woman who was travelling together with her husband and 3 children. 2 of the couple's children, aged 5 and 3, sustained injuries during the crash and were rushed to the Setiu Hospital for treatment. The body of the deceased was brought to the Sultanah Nur Zahira Hospital for post-mortem. The cause of the accident is being investigated under the Road Transport Act. Police have arrested 2 men to assist their investigations into the murder of a car repossessor whose body was found along the North-South Expressway near Sedenak, Johor recently. The duo have been remanded until Thursday to facilitate the probe under Section 302 of the Penal Code. State CID Chief Datuk Muhammad Yusof Ahmad said the body of the victim was discovered in a drain by passers-by at about 2 a.m. on Sunday. Based on initial investigations, the victim and a 29-year-old man were travelling back to Kuala Lumpur in a Toyota Velfire, which they repossessed from the vehicle owner due to missed payments in Johor Bahru earlier. However, the MPV crashed after it was wedged by 2 cars which have been tailing the vehicle. It was believed that the incident was linked to the Velfire repossession by the victim and his colleague who fled the scene of the crash. Both drivers of the 2 cars, aged 26 and 33, were then nabbed by police at the location. Trump urges Congress to amend Wasteful COVID-19 aid bill. This and more stories from the Foreign Front after the break. Welcome back. Now on to the Foreign Front. United States President Donald Trump has urged Congress to amend a $900 billion coronavirus relief bill to more than triple its stimulus payments to Americans. In a video message posted on Twitter, he said the package really is a disgrace, full of wasteful items.
I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
From New York.
Republicans and Democrats have been negotiating a coronavirus stimulus rescue package since July, and Trump, who has largely stayed out of the talks, had been expected to sign the legislation into law following its passage through Congress on Monday night. The package of measures is linked to a bigger government spending bill, which includes foreign aid funding, as well as a $1.4 trillion spending measure to fund federal agencies for the next 9 months. Those agencies will have to shut if the president vetoes or refuses to sign it by midnight next Monday. Most legislation that comes from Congress requires the approval of the president before becoming law. However, Trump has not specifically said he would veto the bill. Even if he does, U.S. media say there could be enough votes from both Democrats and Republicans in Congress to override his veto.
Mr. Romney
A gunman has shot dead 3 police officers who were called to a domestic violence incident in central France. According to authorities, the 48-year-old suspect, who was known to authorities for child custody issues, was later found dead. The gunman killed 1 officer and wounded another. He then set fire to the house and killed 2 more officers who arrived. The woman was rescued. President Emmanuel Macron said the nation shared the grief of the families of the police officers. Gun attacks on police in non-terror-related incidents are relatively rare in France. Over in Indonesia, Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan has decided to extend the transitional large-scale social restriction to January 3rd as the rate of COVID-19 cases continues to rise. According to Anies, this was also in anticipation of a possible increase in virus transmission in the capital city following the coming seasonal holidays. Anies said the trend known as the family cluster infection grew after holiday periods in the past couple of months. This, along with office clusters, largely contributed to the increase in the city's confirmed infection cases. As of Wednesday, the COVID-19 cases in Indonesia rose by 7,514 within 1 day to 685,639, with the death toll adding by 151 to 20,408. Jakarta alone recorded 3,821 new cases from family clusters and 313 new confirmed cases from office clusters. Meanwhile, Thailand authorities have been told to prepare for a new COVID-19 lockdown in the event that the pandemic spirals out of control. Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha told the Public Health Ministry this, even as health officials were randomly testing migrant workers at virus hotspots. This comes as 382 people tested positive for the virus on Monday, 360 of whom were migrant workers, as the spread of infection from the Samut Sakhon shrimp wholesale market continued. In the Philippines, President Rodrigo Duterte has banned all flights from the United Kingdom as the European nation battles a more infectious COVID-19 strain. According to presidential spokesman Harry Rogue, all United Kingdom flights to the Philippines are suspended starting December 24th until December 31st. This means that all passengers who have been in the UK in the last 14 days immediately preceding arrival to the Philippines, including those in transit, are also temporarily restricted from entering the country during the same period. The British government, meanwhile, will review whether it needs to impose its strictest COVID-19 restrictions on more of the country on Wednesday, as a highly infectious variant continues to spread. This comes as Britain reported a record 36,803 new infections on Wednesday, as a mutated strain of the coronavirus causes the number of cases and hospital admissions to soar. However, according to Housing Secretary Robert Jenrick, there was absolutely no plan to change rules, allowing 3 households together on Christmas Day for people in England who do not live in places covered by the highest Tier 4 level of restrictions. Now let's take a look at the highlights in Malaysia's main newspapers for Thursday, December 24th. The New Straits Times highlights the government's plan to revive Malaysia's tourism sector. A report on the court's verdict to dismiss Raup Durian Planters' judicial review bid against state government is among the top stories featured on Malaysia's best-selling Malay newspaper, Harian Metro. And an article on how Permodalan Nasional Berhad is looking at long-term and sustainable return for unit holders takes the front page of the Malaysian Reserve. Don't forget to get your copies or subscribe to the online newspaper. In Thailand, elephants dressed as Santa Claus wore and handed out face masks among their usual gifts to children on Wednesday in a uniquely 2020 edition of Thailand's annual Ayutthaya Christmas event. Let's take a look at the visual as we wrap up. You've been watching Nightline. I'm Norzie. Thanks for watching.